What's going on YouTube? This is ParkerLad88 coming at you with another deck profile. Got some new support for Buster Blader, so I want to go ahead and update my build. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, let's go ahead and get started with our monster count. So the first thing we're going to do is run 3 copies of the Buster Whelp. Buster Whelp is the catalyst behind all of your Buster Blader plays, searches for your Destruction Sword cards, special summons Buster Blader from your hand or grave, and can special summon itself if you control a Buster Blader by tossing a Destruction Sword card. This is your bread and butter for going into your Buster Dragon plays, so you can go ahead and get your control started, so you run 3 of it. You have to. We also run 2 copies of the original Buster Blader, and then we have 1 copy of Buster Blader, the Destruction Sword Master. So I like running 2 in 1, because just because the new trap is there doesn't mean this is the only one that you run. There's still big things in this game that this Buster Blader cannot beat over, so you run the 2 original Buster Bladers. If anything else, I prefer it just because they, they can just get up to bigger numbers so you can deal more damage, and I like that. This Buster Blader is okay in this variant because you have Shaddoll Fusion to send it directly to the graveyard from your deck, or because you can fuse from your hand, put it in your grave, and I still do like the protection that the new trap gives you for him, so you run him at 1. He has another nifty ability that says whenever a card on your opponent's side of the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, so if they pop it themselves, you can use his ability to take it. You basically equip it to him as an equip card. Then during your turn, once per turn, you can get rid of that equip card to destroy all monsters on your opponent's side of the field who is of the same type of that equipped monster. So that effect I don't use so much. The equipping actually can be pretty good as far as disrupting plays because your opponent no longer has access to that monster, so, use your discretion, it can be pretty handy. Next up, we have 2 copies of the main Buster Sword, which is Dragon Buster Destruction Sword. This is your level 1 tuner who is also integral in your Buster Dragon plays, and he also stops, your opponent from using the extra deck, which is really, really good. We also have 1 copy of Wizard Buster Destruction Sword. This is kind of new. I went back to using this because I side Robot, and I don't want to side out either of my Dragon Busters because I need it for my combos. So between the 2 of them, it should make the matchups for Buster Blader easier. And the fact that it has a Warrior Returning Alive effect is also pretty good too. Also, this has a Dragunity Phalanx effect, so you can actually special summon it and go for your plays if I didn't mention before. For those people who haven't seen the previous deck profiles or, stuff for Buster Blader. Anyway, so that does it for all of the Buster Blader stuff. Moving into the second part of it, we have the Shaddoll engine, where we have our Squamata, our Foolish and Destroyer guy. We have Beast for our draw power. We have Hedgehog for our search power. And then we have 1 Falco to reborn things, 1 Dragon for popping back row and roots sending stuff back to hand for things that can't be destroyed, and then 1 Hound, who is my favorite because he has the ability to change the battle position of any monster in the field, triggers your own Shaddoll effects, stops your opponent, makes Sinister Shadow games a lot more reactive, so that's why I definitely like him. I decided to run 2 Hedgehogs because I always like having a card in hand to make my Shiki-Nog alive. Moving into our spells, because this is a Shaddoll variant, we run 3 copies of Shaddoll Fusion. It's great turn 2 for punishing your opponent for using their extra deck, if they do use their extra deck, and this is what actually makes Buster Blader, the Destruction Sword Master, actually kind of a legitimate option, because now you don't have to solely rely on just having Buster Blader. If you have access to some combination of Buster Whelp and Dragon Buster Destruction Sword, or Buster Whelp and Buster Blader the Destruction Sword Master, you can fuse using the Buster Blader the Destruction Sword Master and still go on with your plays from there. So you run 3 of this. Next up, we have 3 copies of Allure of Darkness for draw power. Because we're using the Shaddoll engine, it gives us access to a bunch of darks which we can proceed to allure away to get closer to our plays. We also, because most of them are spellcasters, we can use Wonder Wand. 2 copies of Wonder Wand. I've been running it in every Shaddoll variant I've ever had for the history of forever. You can send away your guys. Because we have lots of back row we can just send away our guys to Wonder Wand. But ideally what I like to do is, if I can actually go ahead and get my Buster Whelp plays off, then I will go ahead and fuse for Winda, get the pluses from sending the Shaddoll monsters, Wonder Wand away the Winda, and get back to Shaddoll fusion. So it's nothing but pluses all around, and I like that. We have one copy of El Shaddoll Fusion, because we all playing Shaddolls. One copy of Destruction Swordman Fusion, because Buster Dragon turns all of your opponent's stuff into dragons, and we can fuse from it. It's basically non-targeting removal that brings out a beater that says you can't do anything under Buster Dragon. So I definitely likes that. And, you know, Buster Blader, so we gotta run it. Gotta run it indeed. We have one copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is the ultimate utility card in this deck. Sends your Shaddolls so you can get Shaddoll effects. Like, you know, you can send Squamata's effect triggers, send Hedgehog. Hedgehog can get you something that you can lure away. Or you can just send Beast. It's really cool just being able to get 3 cards out of your deck to get you closer to your stuff. That's why I really like the Shaddoll engine in Buster Blader. Not only do you gain access to the awesome Buster Blader plays, which are really fun, you get the nice soft locks of the Shaddolls as well, and all the benefits of being able to mill stuff from your deck super fast and draw and all that kind of stuff to get closer to your plays. It makes the plays more consistent, which is definitely what Buster Blader needed, in addition to more ways to get to said plays. Anyway, that's my spiel on Buster Blader, if I haven't already mentioned it before. For those new people out there, we have one copy of Upstart Goblin. This is a new edition. Because of the latest ban list, which is what this is geared toward, had extra space, so I can put in Upstart Goblin. I could have put in any number of things. I was debating between Destruction Sword Flash or like Soul Charge. You might be like, oh, why not just put in Soul Charge? I mean, Soul Charge is retarded and it makes sense, but at the end of the day, I just need extra cards that get me there. I need cards to get me to the plays, and Soul Charging for 2 doesn't really do much for this deck without, you know, having like other pluses that you can actually get behind. So having a card that just gets me there faster is ultimately what I need. But if you guys have any other suggestions, please let me know. But it's just what works best for me. Moving into traps, we have 3 copies of Sinister Shadow Games. Sinister Shadow Games lets you Foolish, and it also lets you flip your Shaddoll monsters in order to get your Shaddoll effects. I really like Hound behind this, because if I have a Shaddoll on field, I can flip it, gets effect, I can send Hound, switch their monster to defense mode, so I'm all set up to go for my turn. I really like the added utility that Hound gets, but just being able to Foolish any of your Shaddoll monsters during your opponent's turn to disrupt their plays or to get pluses so you can gear up for your turn, it's all the better. Now we have 3 copies of the newest support card for Buster Blader, and that is Prologue of the Destruction Swordsman. So let me go ahead and talk about what this card does before I start getting into like other things like, you know, story and stuff like that, which I think is really interesting now that this card is here. So one thing I noticed about this is what you do is when you activate it, you send in a Buster Blader monster and a Destruction Sword card, so that's really good, as cost. That's cost for activating this card. So even if your opponent like tries to negate it with like a Solemn Warning or something like that, you still get like stuff in your grave, and that's ridiculous. You do all that in order to summon out Buster Dragon. The Buster Dragon dies during the next turn. So if you bring it out during your turn, it dies during your opponent's turn. If you bring it out during your opponent's turn, it dies during your turn. You get it from either your extra deck or your graveyard, so it's really cool that you can recycle Buster Dragons that are already in your graveyard. And if that weren't enough, you can banish this from your graveyard at any point in order to prevent the destruction by battle or card effect of your Destruction Sword monsters. This card is very good. I'm so happy that it was common. It would have been nice if it was like super. I wouldn't have minded that. So let's go ahead and talk about this story now. So now that Konami was so on the nose with this being the prologue, what I want to know is the Buster Dragon, the Synchro, is that dragon, the big black dragon there, or is that what Buster Whelp grows up to be? Because also in Destruction Swordman Fusion, you see that Buster Whelp, when it's all grown up, it's like white. I mean, it's dying, but it's like, it's white. It doesn't look like this. Even the Buster Dragon from like the extra deck looks more like this than like Buster Whelp. So I feel I would really love to see like a couple more cards to, you know, like flesh out that story and basically, you know, tell me what happens. I don't want to speculate. I want to know what's going on. 1 Destruction Swordsman memories, toss a Destruction Sword card, special summon the Buster Blader monster, and it Miracle Fuses. It's pretty good stuff. You can do some neat combos with this, like throwing your Destruction Swordman Fusion in the grave, then discarding this to the grave to get back the Destruction Swordman Fusion, so this is live, really neat stuff. So in order to replace the instant fusions, and I think I replaced Twin Twister too. I'm not entirely sure. I decided to go with 2 Solemn Strikes and the 1 copy of Solemn Warning. That was always a mainstay. There isn't a lot of back, like the really good decks don't run a lot of back row, and the ones that do run back row, it punishes you for destroying them. So I don't see a point in maining Twin Twister. I'd rather side it once I know what my matchup is. Strike is better. So, you know, Solemn Brigade, it definitely makes going first better, just having more defensive options, but, you know. Anyway. I had something to say, but I lost it. Anyway, moving on to the extra deck. We have 2 copies of the Big Boss Daddy himself in the form of Buster Blader, the Dragon Destroyer Swordsman. So, gains 1,000 attack for every dragon on your opponent's side of the field and in the graveyard. Says your opponent can activate the effects of dragons anyway, curls up those dragons, and he can pierce. He can't attack directly though, which is unfortunate, but I mean, with as big as numbers he can reach and the ability to pierce, it's like, who really cares? Because we are running Shaddoll, so we have 2 copies of Shikinaga, stops those special summon monster effects and gets our Buster Blader engraved. We have Winda. Winda locks are still good. Says your opponent can only special summon 1 time. Well, both of you can only special summon 1 time, but it only really matters for your opponent. It is kind of annoying to try and play around this sometimes, but it doesn't really happen too often. Can't be destroyed by card effects, which is nice either. That can't Raigeki this and all that kind of crazy stuff. That does for all our fusions. Moving into our synchros, we have 2 copies of Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. This guy. Why do I run 2, you ask? I have the space for it, so like, why the heck not? Plus, I don't have a Scar Right, and I'm actually okay with that. So what this guy does is, once per turn during either player's turn, you can target a card on your opponent's side of the field and just straight negate it. Kaiju Slumber, negate it. Raigeki, negate it. Anti-Spell, negate it. So on and so forth. Oh, that's not supposed to be there. Anyway. Also, whenever he inflicts damage, you can special summon a tuner from your graveyard. So one thing I really like doing is bringing out Buster Dragon. Bringing out Buster Dragon with a trap card, special summoning Buster Blader, normal summoning a tuner, going for this guy, punching with this guy, getting back the tuner, and going for another Buster Dragon before the Buster Dragon dies. 3 copies of Buster Dragon. It's all about Buster Dragon. Buster Dragon and Buster Blader / Buster Blader the Dragon Destroyer Swordsman. It's all about these guys. He turns your opponent's monsters into dragons, so he has that DNA surgery for dragons, which is cool. Special summons a Buster Blader if you don't control a Buster Blader, and then during your opponent's turn, you can equip one of your Destruction Sword guys to a Buster Blader monster that you target. So this is where the lock power comes from, and coupling this with the Shaddoll monsters really helps to, you know, control the board. We have 1 Charge Warrior, and we have 1 Clear Wing Synchro Dragon. Clear Wing Synchro Dragon, I have the Falco with him just so I can get out of my own window lock if I need to, plus he's a good level 7 Synchro to go for. Charge Warrior is just for those rare instances where I can make a 6. It also helps me get out of my window lock as well, but, you know, being able to get the extra draw. Plus, he's really the only one I have on hand, and that's okay. And then for 2 Xyz, we run Castell, and then we run Abyss Dweller. Abyss Dweller because he's like the best Xyz in the game, borderline right now, and then Castell just because he's another rank 4. This can really be anything. I might actually take this out and run like another Synchro or something like that. I haven't had a lot of time to play around with this after the new ban list dropped. This was just temporary. This was just like a temporary replacement for, like, you know, getting rid of Norden. I might make this Sea Monster Theseus, or I might make it a Dark Paladin just to troll with all those Dark Magician players. You decide. Anyway, guys, that was my update to my Buster Blader Shaddoll deck profile. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll be back to you later with future videos. This is Parker Lad, out.